Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking about the importance of power rankings. Now, the power rankings, they're a snapshot of the public opinion. And the ones that I rely on the most, I usually go to ESPN.com just because these guys are in the public face more than anybody else. Now, it's good to look in on other power rankings and even create some of your own. But when you're looking for public opinion, you want the power rankings that the public turns to the most. That's why I turn to ESPN. Now, what this is all about is volatility. And basically, the teams that are in the middle are going to be less volatile, and the teams towards the top and the teams towards the bottom are going to be the most volatile. So let's say that you have a number one ranked team, and they come out and they play flat. Well, everybody's going to get up in arms and think that, oh my God, this team is not what we thought they were. You can remember last year, the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers comes out and tells the fans, relax. Okay, the season was just getting started, and they had a few losses, and then people started screaming, oh, it's the end of the world. Another example from last year was the Patriots, and I think it was after the Kansas City game. People were questioning if the Tom Brady era was over. He had some rough looking games, capped by a pretty bad loss, and all of a sudden, the talking heads are like, yeah, Brady's getting up there in age, maybe it's time to start looking for a new quarterback. And then they go on to win the Super Bowl. This is what I'm talking about with volatility. Okay, now, if this was the Cincinnati Bengals, if this was the Cleveland Browns, or the Washington Redskins, then we wouldn't be having that discussion. Okay, it is about the team that is in the public eye and is expected to perform a certain way, and as soon as they don't, the public is like, oh my God. Okay, that affects the point spread. That affects the point spread big time, and that is precisely what we are looking for. That is when the bubbles will burst. Everybody will run for the hill. There's a saying on Wall Street, the time to invest is when the blood is in the streets. Okay, and that brings us to our next point. Okay, I call this the rebounding teams theory. Now, it sounds stupid, but good teams are expected to play good. They're not expected just to win, they're expected to beat the spread. That's what the public thinks, that's what the public wants. And when the opposite happens, they get shocked, especially if it's the number one ranked team in the power rankings. Now, the reciprocal of this is also true. A bad team is expected to play bad. They're expected not just to lose the game, but to lose against the spread. And when they don't, it shocks the world, and people are like, well, maybe they're getting better, and maybe I should take them more seriously. And when they come out and suck next week, if you did what I told you, and played the opposite side, expecting them to go back to their losing ways, you just made money. Okay, that is what this theory is all based on. It's contrarian to the public opinion. Okay, and I had a video called Regression Theory, which is completely based off from this idea. Now, I explained the strategy, but now what I'm talking about is the filters that I use when I'm investigating the strategy. Okay, if I see a team that's won 4 times in a row, but they're in the middle of the power rankings, to me that's not as strong as a team that has won 3 times in a row, but they're at the very bottom of the power rankings. Okay, if they're at the bottom of the power rankings, I'm expecting them to lose. Now, the danger is, well, what if that team's actually getting good? Okay, you always have to be on the lookout for that and pay attention. But generally speaking, a bad team will return to their bad game. Okay, they are who they are. The Jacksonville Jaguars are not going to be winning the Super Bowl anytime soon, and neither will the Oakland Raiders. Okay, that's just who they are. and until they have some major changes going on in those teams, then they're not going to see the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl. Okay, now on the other hand, there are other teams that are just consistently in the playoffs. You know, you've got the Patriots, you've got the Green Bay Packers. Lately it's been the Seahawks. 49ers have fallen from grace a little bit, but they were in it the past few years. You know, the Baltimore Ravens have been in it lately. You know, there's just a certain group of teams that are always back, and when those teams start performing contrary to what the public thinks they should, then that's the time to get all over that and make some money. So now I have basically 3 different systems that I use with regression theory, and we've only talked about one of the strategies, and I will cover the other strategies coming up in videos to come. But I call this shock theory. Now, instead of just, you know, paying attention to whether they're winning or losing, I'm looking in at how much they're beating the spread by, or how much they're losing to the spread by. And if there's a large enough point difference, it creates a shock in the public, and I'm looking to take advantage of that. And the first theory that I came out with, or strategy I should say, was for 10-point teasers. And I was looking for 3 different teams that were getting shocked, and you know, if I could find it, I'd lump them all into a 10-point teaser, and it worked absolutely incredible. Now the problem was that the first year it worked perfectly for me, and then the second year that I was trying it, there was a lot more parity in the NFL than there was in the past. So the theory didn't work quite so well, but I kept looking into it and I kept improving it. And basically now I have 3 different strategies that I use for this one idea. You know, one is having a certain stretch of games go on. You know, like I've narrowed it to basically 7 games. I don't expect any team in the NFL to go beyond 7 games against the spread, either winning or losing. Now, if they're flying under the radar, they can. However, if you're using these power rankings, you can filter those games out most of the time. Okay? And, you know, when good teams perform bad and bad teams perform good, that was how I created the 10-point teasers when I first got into it. And I had my own power ranking list. You know, I'd have a list of 8 elite teams and 8 bad teams. And the reason why my theory didn't work so well is I started running out of bad teams because, you know, there were certain teams that were getting better. Not great, but better. And it seemed like the good teams were not as dominant as they used to be. So the parity kind of changed that for me. And I kind of had to sit that one out in 2013. I didn't really know how to react to that. But now that I've studied the theory more and, you know, got into shock theory, I've found a way around not having that big list of good teams and bad teams. And it seems to be working well. And we're going to get into that even more when we talk about chase trackers. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, hit the like button, leave a comment below, and we'll see you next time. Alrighty.